Well, and so it appears it's a week of taking stock all round, and as we mentioned, starting this morning, it will be the turn of cabinet secretaries to give a report card to the country. And
KTN's Cathryn Omwandho, who has been covering a number of these cabinet secretaries, now joins us in studio with a look ahead. Good morning, Kat.
Morning.
Good to see you.
Morning, Swan. Good to see you too.
I hope you enjoyed your weekend. A big one beginning today. Cabinet secretaries, all of them one by one.
Yes.
And there'll be a few that Kenyans will really want to hear from.
Yes. Today we have Charity Ngilu, we have Judy Wahungu, we have Felix Koskei, and we have Aden Mohammed. Now, the most interesting one there would have to be Charity Ngilu because, as you know, when she was appointed the cabinet secretary, there were critics who said that she doesn't deserve the position because, you know, the position of cabinet secretary should actually go to professionals and not politicians. So those talk that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto was actually awarding her for her support during the election. So, but when she got into office, it's 1 year now. As you know, last time when she was in the previous government under the Ministry of Water, she did have scandals. She had scandals of mispropriety. She had scandals of nepotism. She also had scandals of where, you know, and not transparent procurement of dam experts. Yeah. So now here she's in the Ministry of Lands, and it seems like the same.
She's stuck up with the same issues.
Exactly. You have issues of you know, seniority or turf wars between her and the Lands Commission. She earlier this month said that she would award 1 million title deeds, and the Lands Commission is like, that's not her mandate, and she feels that that's her mandate. So there's a lot of turf war kind of arguments on the newspaper. So it will be interesting to see what she has achieved as the cabinet secretary, rather than the bad press that she has been receiving.
Interesting, Kathy, and that's also another conversation that we talk about, you know, professionals versus politicians.
Yeah.
But in effect, this is a time for us also to figure out some of these professionals, in all honesty, have really failed.
Exactly.
So the politicians, you know, like Charity and Najib Balala and such, some of these cabinet secretaries have never done a press conference 1 year on.
Exactly. It's more, and that's where the argument came. I don't think you need to do a press conference for you to show what you're doing, but I think that if you're constantly on the news for negative reasons, I mean, she was on the news for allegedly, let me say allegedly, slapping a lands officer.
And the biggest one is the tough war with Swazuri, which is also in the headline today in the Standard. It's been playing out for quite a long time, derailing some of the work in the ministry.
Exactly. So you end up doing press conferences to, you know, mudsling each other, rather than press conferences to say, you know what, this is what I've done and this is what I've achieved in the past 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah. So other than her, it would be interesting to see what she has achieved. But other than her, we have Professor Wahungu, and as you know, last week we did highlight the senior investigative reporter Dennis Onsarigo did highlight butchers and poachers and butchers, and the president did mention something about it. He said that the country will take a hardline stance against poaching. So Wahungu would be there to tell us what hardline stance is this? What policies have you changed? And what have you achieved in the past 1 year? Yeah. But she also has an interesting challenge when it comes to the balance between sharing natural resources, because, you know, natural resources are within counties, and counties have semi-autonomy. So how do you balance devolution as well as providing national resources to everyone? Because you have some cases where one county says, well, this is our natural resource, so we're going to charge you if you want to use it. We have Uzima Dam, which does flow to Mombasa. So there's that kind of conflict in a way, you know? So she's going to have to try and find a balance of providing natural resources to everybody while, you know, leaving devolution intact.
Okay. Actually, it will be interesting to see how that plays out. There have been a lot of discoveries, so the local residents maintain we need to fill this first.
Exactly.
And of course the country, everyone is excited about what's happening there, so quite the balancing act for her.
Yes.
But also Aden is going to be talking today. Mohammed.
He will. What do you know about industrialization?
Many things. But let's start with how someone with this profile, you know, left a good job, you know, in Standard Chartered Bank, you know, as the CEO, then walk into government. and is someone who every quarter he'd give you a report of what is done, you know, in terms of the private sector, then gets into this government job, and 1 year down the line, he's just there.
Colorless, some might say.
There,
he's very quiet.
And I think this, when I'm not sure this one, excuse me, the president should have the conversation of misfits in his cabinet, because there are quite a number of those misfits, like people who haven't really, as expected, you know, really showed up, you know, stepped to the plate. And these professionals, you know, mostly, I don't know if when is the time to, you know, say this is it, we've tried it and it didn't work, you know, let's you know, shift them a bit, or let's get others and, you know, move on a bit. I don't know if that would be the right time for that conversation. You know, it's 1 year on, we'll do another 2 years on, 3 years on. When do we say this really hasn't worked? You know, we hoped it worked, but it hasn't really worked.
I don't know, because we did have a ministry for industrialization in the previous government. It's a difficult ministry, I think. It's because it's such a futuristic ministry. We look at, you know, sustainability in terms of innovation, in terms of agriculture. So you're supposed to look ahead to provide, you know, sustain the country with different forms or diversity in terms of industry. So I think it's difficult. It's different from his previous job where he had to, because here it's like.
But I mean, if you take up the point, it means you're equal to the task.
But what he has done, I mean, to be the devil's advocate, he did come up with, or he did foresee the policy framework that was brought up last year. There is an industrialization policy framework, and he, you know, the president last year did say, I mean, the last time he did talk about industrialization specifically was mid last year, and he said that, you know, the government is committed to industrialization and to, you know, look into innovations and improve industries. So it would be interesting to see what he has, or maybe his speech will be very short.
And the final cabinet secretary today?
The final cabinet secretary is Felix Koske.
Agriculture.
Yes. Major.
That's major,
especially when it comes to food security. As you know, late last year, we did have reports of drought in Turkana, which was, you know, a paradox, because there's water, there's oil. This is a rich county. So he will have to see what he has achieved. But when we did talk to experts, because I remember I covered that story last year, and the experts were like, it's devolution that is running this process down. It's devolution that is stopping us from having backup systems that will make sure that our country doesn't face famine or drought. So what he will have to explain what he's put in place so that Turkana will never report a famine or a drought. So that would be interesting to see also what he has to say.
Final question for you: who's your top cabinet secretary?
My top cabinet secretary. I think I'm biased.
It's okay.
I like Amina. I think she, you know, she's
equal to the task.
Yeah, she is.
All right.
You know.
You are Sophia? Yeah.
Seeing that they're all going to be appearing and speaking to us. Ask me that question after they're done. No, honestly, I'll agree with Kathy. For the past year, Amina has been one of those people, even in terms of when there has been breaking stories touching on her particular, you know, sector, she will field questions, she'll answer, she's very free to come for interviews every time you call her. Most of these cabinet secretaries, education, we've tried to get Kaimeni over and over again. They say, oh, we're still trying to put house in order before we can give interviews. So you get a feeling that they're not ready to own up and answer the hard questions. So I like her approach. She's done a brilliant job.
Brilliant.
And yours?
Ambassador Amina, I think it's done.
Oh, it's done. Oh, wow. Awesome. Thank you, Kat.
Right,
thank you.
cool.
So as you've heard from Cathryn, Industrialization and Enterprise Development Ministry, Aidan Mohammed will be speaking today, Judy Wakungu, Charity Ngilu, as well as Felix Koske on agriculture. They'll be giving an account of what they feel or what they say they have achieved in the past 1 year.